Yay Media Group.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Fitish Podcast. I want to apologize if there was some audio issues with last week's episode, because we do sit in the elements. So sometimes we have animal noises, wind, screaming babies.
Screaming lizards.
Lizards screech. We have learned that living here, which is interesting.
We cover up.
You have buttons for that.
I know, right?
We do the podcast on YouTube as well. If you ever want to see what we look like today, I look pretty crumb. But it's quite early in the morning. We're recording this because we are going on a boat day with some friends that have come into town. And then we're also kind of getting ready because we're about to go to Mexico City. The next few episodes you hear after today's are going to be from
Motherland.
So this isn't Motherland.
Well, this is like stepmotherland, you know? This is like
Bloody stepsister land.
Yeah, like Antland.
Antland.
Yeah. It's part of the motherland.
We're going to Mexico City for a few weeks. We're going to a cool place called Valle de Bravo, which is, I actually don't know because I've never been. I've always wanted to go. It looks to me like the Lake Tahoe of Mexico or something like that. Which I've also never been to Lake Tahoe, but it looks like the Lake Como of Mexico.
It's like a lake version of the Hamptons.
Really?
Yeah, it could be.
Oh, so it's like shishi.
Could be.
Well, not as expensive as the Hamptons.
It could
be actually. But that's what's so cool to me when I look at Airbnbs in Mexico is that you can kind of find all levels depending on where you're at. Whereas when you look at it, I've never really looked at Airbnbs in the Hamptons. Well, maybe I have. Are y'all crazy? Do you all look at Airbnbs or VRBO or Zillow all over the country sometimes just because you're curious about homes and styles and pricing? Because I do that from time to time, which I bet if I do it, other people do it. I've learned that with age. If I do it, other people do it. But yeah, I like that about Mexico.
No, babe, you're a trendsetter.
No, I'm not a trendsetter. I know that women more than men will just like Google around on Zillow or Airbnb, I'm sure, and kind of fantasize about them. Houses you can't afford, places you're probably never going to travel, but you're just curious to know, what it looks like there. I love that. I don't know. There's something about seeing, how other people live, where other people live, what it looks like. Less about the price, just about
you
what the
have
houses are.
an Airbnb that is like your dream. Like if you ever go wild and you want to spend $100,000 a night, there's this Airbnb that you've seen, because I'm pretty sure you've seen crazy ones.
No, because the older that I've gotten, I try to not look at things way outside of a budget because I realize that just makes all the stuff you can't afford. You know this as a realtor too. You're never supposed to show, if you're showing people houses, you're never supposed to usually lead with the best one of the bunch. Like you work your way up to it because then nothing after that one compares. Like you can't go someone that has $1 million budget or a $500,000 budget.
Well, sometimes we do it the other way around, so we stop looking,
Yeah, but I'm just saying you are not going to show a couple that comes to you and says, "Hey, Brandon, we only have $500,000 to spend. What can we get?" You're not going to show them $1 million house and then go show them stuff within their budget because then they're going to be like, womp womp.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, I don't have a dream $100,000 a night Airbnb. I think if my budget was that, there is a trip that I've seen like online that some people do that I think would be very cool. That is that cost for the whole trip. And it's I think it's like a 12-day, it's an almost 2-week trip on a private-ish plane. Granted, you're with, maybe a dozen other people that have also bought tickets for this trip. But you fly around to, I think it might have been like a Four Seasons trip. They fly you with, a National Geographic guide, like experts, right? Like, I don't know, some paleontologist is on there. Like you're actually going to really incredible destinations. You're seeing some of the 8 wonders of the world. And, you're going for a night or two, staying in one of their properties, getting back on that plane, going somewhere else. That's what I would, if you're talking about travel and that amount of money, I would probably do a trip like that. Because then you're learning, you're being educated. It's very luxe. I don't know. But that is so far beyond my expectation of my life right now that, I don't know, I haven't thought about spending $100,000 on something like that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money,
It is.
Speaking of, but just, fulfillment and happiness and things that you want to do with your life, though, I got such an interesting, very personal question. I'm not going to say her name, but I appreciate that y'all even want to reveal so many personal things to me and reach out to me and ask me a question like this. But I woke up to this morning and it says, not a question to ask a stranger, but are you happy? America's scary. I was unable to have children, so I have dogs. Full disclosure, I'm a liberalish Republican and scared I can't continue to live here with the stress and sense of impending doom from either side of the line. And I was like, wow, what time did she send that? She sent it last night. I saw it this morning. I responded to her because what like a vulnerable thing to say to a stranger, which is true. But I guess, a lot of people, y'all know me. I mean, those of you that have listened to me for a long time. And isn't it interesting? I think a lot of people ask us if we're happy now because we made this bold decision to leave something that we felt, Fran and I were always, I feel like you and I were careful to say, it's not that we were necessarily unhappy, in the United States. Our experience was different. For me, I felt very overwhelmed kind of by the day to day. And yes, kind of that anger of people. People seem so divided these days, right? So for me, I just go out to the store and, there's some road rage or, someone's getting robbed in the parking lot or someone's just mad. You see people arguing at the checkout line. It was just this constant, you can just tell people seem increasingly unhappy. And Fran and I would talk about that a lot because when you're more of an empath, it really rubs off on you. So then I would find my mood being really shifted if people were in a shit mood to me, even if it had nothing to do with me. So all that being said, this move here in a lot of ways for me has opened my eyes up to the fact that, happiness is not kind of a permanent place of being. It's definitely more like it's not a destination, right? It's for sure, right? Don't you think happiness is more of a journey that you kind of have to work on it?
100%. I think you're absolutely right on that. Happiness is the now, is the present.
I think it's work, right? I think that it's not about, all of a sudden you just move somewhere, grass is greener, you wake up and you're super happy. It's that for me, what was making me feel more unhappy was all of the noise, being pulled in different directions, all of the distraction, more negativity, that sort of thing. So yeah, moving somewhere much slower, having less things, having less noise in general has really brought me more peace, which in turn has brought me more happiness. But I think a lot goes into as they call it, we have all these different buckets that need to be filled. And for me, having a business was a huge change for me in my unhappiness. I will say a time where I felt most unhappy in my life was really before I started my business, going through a lot of personal challenges, feeling very unfulfilled with the career that I was in. And starting my own business gave me a different level of fulfillment. And obviously motherhood has just kind of brought that to a whole new level and really changed a lot of priorities. But yeah, anyway, I think it's just a work in progress all of the time. But for me, the simple thing of just eliminating a lot of noise has actually really made a huge difference.
Yeah, I think it's just about finding it in your everyday. I think happiness is a choice. And you have to find a way to choose to be happy and choose to be happy where you are and with what you have. I think there's people that are chasing happiness, people that say, I'll be happy when this happened, when that, what if that never happens?
It's so funny you say that because I used to know someone that said that expression a lot. It was that, I'll be happy when I have this, or when I have this amount of money, when I have this sort of level of stature or whatever it is. And I used to laugh a lot about that back then because I always knew, if you're not happy now and you have plenty, then, you're definitely not going to be happy with that item or that bank account.
It's never going to be enough. It's never, if you cannot find happiness in your day-to-day, in what you have, count your blessings. And I'm not talking about in a religion blessing. I'm talking about you're alive, you're breathing, you're healthy. That, just parting from that, you can do whatever you want. You can restart and rewrite the whole story again. Like we did. We woke up one day and said, we're not all that happy here. We can be happier. We can find a place where our son evolves in a different way, in a more organic, in a more chill way.
I think, again, it takes work. It's not, waking up. And it's really clear to me after living here for a bit, and we've been kind of dealing with a situation with our landlord that's been really unfortunate. I think for me, this is someone who's really trying to sell the property that we're in, and I thought everything was great at first. And, without going into too much detail, it's been a really stressful situation for Francisco and I, and we feel really disappointed because, there's this sense of like urgency with, I understand, people sometimes just get in a place where they really, want money but for Fran and I, it's the lesson for me. It's like, wow, this person seems to find a reason to be unhappy about certain things left and right. And that's such a shame, isn't it? But it also just goes to show that living here, one of the most beautiful places that I've ever spent time, you're still going to have people that are unhappy. And again, that just goes to show it's such a state of mind, right? If you don't really work on the things that make you happy, ignoring the little things that might be bothersome but aren't that big of a deal. I think it's one of those things we can always find things to look at in our life to be unhappy about. But I went on a run yesterday. I don't love running, but I thought here it's difficult because we don't have gyms and it's really slow season. So like a lot of these little workout classes, nothing's happening right now. And all of a sudden I'm in the mood to get fit again. So I just go park and ran on the beach. And can I tell you, running on the beach is so hard. I mean, it's so defeating and so humbling that I run what feels like half an hour. I'm exhausted. It's been 2 minutes. And I don't think I've made it very far. I feel like I'm running in,
like in place.
Slow motion, running in place. But there was no one. I saw maybe one family playing with their kids that they were clearly tourists because the kids should not be on this part of the beach because you can't get in the water. And I didn't see anyone. Beautiful rocks, waves crashing. And what therapy that has been for me since I've never gotten to spend this amount of time around water. And it really makes a huge difference. It's like the simplest thing, right? Think about it. It's free. There's no gym membership. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, you got to like get dressed and get down there and then walk to the beach and do it. You get some sand. I get hot, but I mean, it's totally free and I have the best view in the entire world and I finish and it changed my day yesterday. And it's not even about the exercise part of it because I frankly didn't exercise that much. I stopped and looked at the water a lot. But oh my gosh, it like changed my whole day. And I think it was just the grounding of the nature.
It is just pausing. It's just pausing and enjoying the now and the present and be able to have like a life check in a second. It's like everything is going to be okay.
And when you say, oh, Jenna, I get it because I'd be so annoyed with myself too. For those of you that are still living in a big city and kind of going, well, how do I do that here? I think we found becoming parents helped us a little bit more with that because he gets up so early that it kind of forced us, and before it gets too hot outside to, go get a coffee, go on a walk around the block, go to the park, do something really early, phoneless, and just kind of be in the moment. I found that those Saturday mornings for us especially, because you can't always do that during the week with school and stuff, but the Saturday and Sunday mornings were always some of my favorite, even being, back in Dallas, because we kind of had the opportunity to do that. So anyway, I think it's just about finding even the 5 or 10 minutes to
100%.
carve out, cut out the noise, right? Easier said than done when it's 101 degrees. I know that, but I'm just saying, put it on the to-do list, something to think about. You don't have to move across the world like we did.
It's just enjoying those little moments, enjoying that time that you have that brings you joy and let that fuel your entire day and revitalize you. I think it's very important. I think that's like my every morning. And it's when you have a kid and you have a 2-year-old and you just move to a foreign place, there's no comfort zone. And if you try to be in the comfort zone, it's because you're doing something dramatically wrong. Like either you're putting your kid in front of a TV and you're just chilling and that's wrong, or you're just not following the right path. Like, I think it's being uncomfortable. It's waking up and like the temptation is to sit in the couch and just give him some cereal and it's just take him somewhere, like have him do something. And when you got out of your comfort zone, you realize that you're enjoying even more. You're enjoying your kid. You're enjoying those minutes that you have with this child that he's going to be gone in no time.
Well, that ended dark. I thought you were going in a good place.
No, he's going to go. Like, he's going to go to college and he's going to grow up. And it goes so fast.
It does.
Like, those little moments. Like, yesterday I was telling you, we were having such a blast in the restaurant. It's like, I really hope we never forget these moments. When we were in bed the other day, all the three together.
Mm-hmm. It is nice. We have been enjoying moments together more, but that's what life is, right? It's just a lot of minutes adding up. So if you can kind of capitalize on all the minutes you have in the day, I think that's absolutely the way to be. I met a mom down here, my main mom friend, and now they're gone for 7 or 8 weeks because this is kind of the time of year that everyone leaves and they go visit family and do stuff because they say the weather gets really rough here. And I mean, I don't want to speak too soon, but it's been okay. I mean, for those of us that live in Dallas,
right now.
like it's warm and there's like some bugs, but it's nothing compared to Dallas. So we've been quite fine with it, other than the fact that a lot shuts down here in the summer. But anyway, she said to me, she goes, you know, what was I talking about?
You were talking about the mom and that she's leaving.
You just said.
Oh, remembering those days.
I'm not stoned or anything. It's really early. You know what? I've only had 1 cup of coffee, so I don't know what's going on.
We're still a little sleepy.
She said to me, I was like, why did you move here? You know, the question you ask people. And she goes, well, because we were living in Santa Barbara and, you know, my husband was working from home, but I was driving almost an hour commuting to my job. And, you know, she was like, I was taking my child, she has 2 now, to daycare, not seeing him all day long, you know, commuting back. And she's like, I just don't love this. And then spending all my money on the child care. And I know this is a very common situation that a lot of us find ourselves in. And I think you start to go, is there more than this? You know, can I find a way to spend more time at home and, you know, have my money go farther and have more quality of life? And so that was the main reason that moved them here, because her husband was working from home. And she was like, yeah, I mean, I took my income off the table. So, you know, in a sense, you don't have as much money coming in for sure. But I'm doing, you know, so much at home and I'm just enjoying kind of the quality of life more. And it's just a really interesting kind of moment to have. She goes, I can always go back to work in, you know, 5 years or so. So,
and it's exactly that balance. It's just finding that you're making this much and spending this much in childcare is like, what is the point? Like, I think she did the most difficult and amazing decision she could.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, we got to hear from a couple sponsors of the Fitish podcast, and we'll be right back. Marley Spoon is a sponsor of the Fitish podcast, and y'all, you see meal prep, meal delivery kits everywhere all the time now, right? And I think the thing I've struggled with the most is I have this tendency to want to eat vegan sometimes, or just vegetarian, because I get burned out on meat, even though we're big meat eaters in the house. And I've never really found a meal prep service that I feel has been great with those kinds of recipes. And I think it's challenging when you want to eat more vegan leaning dishes or vegetarian, because we all know that really comes into like kind of preparing your own food and making a really flavorful dish when meat is not part of it. And Marley Spoon has this vegan burrito bowl and also this butternut squash gnocchi. And both of these dishes are just so delicious and something that I would never had made from scratch for myself. I just don't really know how to cook vegetarian and vegan food as much, and I just love it so much. Marley Spoon, you can choose from over 100 delicious recipes every week. Cajun spiced chicken, poached salmon, obviously the 2 that I just listed off that I really love the most, the butternut squash gnocchi and the vegan burrito bowl. I love a burrito bowl. It's also so easy to kind of recreate if you ever wanted to do that again and add meat to it. But Marley Spoon has just made life so easy, and Remy loves it. Remy loves a home-cooked meal. It's actually made me cook more, and of course, you know, being in a place where I kind of have to cook more and I'm not getting food delivery from restaurants and things of that nature, it's so nice to be able to just cook Remy food at home and have him be a part of it too. I think as parents, we all know how enjoyable it is to let your kids be a part of that, even if it makes a mess and takes a while to clean up. Marley Spoon saves you from making the extra grocery haul, of course. They also offer grocery items a la carte, so you don't have to worry about that either. And I think something with a lot of meal delivery services is you're really only getting the ingredients for those recipes, but you can actually choose from a lot of other essentials and add that to your order, which is so great. Experience the most personalized meal kit today with Marley Spoon. Head to marleyspoon.com/offer/fitish and use the code FITISH for up to 25 free meals. That's right, 25 free meals with Marley Spoon. One last time, Marley, Marley, spoon.com/offer/fitish for up to 25 free meals. Make sure you throw in the promo code FITISH so they know that we sent you. Welcome back to the show. So in our stellar content planning, Francisco and I realized that a couple episodes ago, we had been sick. You're still sick, I think. He came home one night from the pharmacy after getting me some medicine for an issue I had been dealing with. And he was like, I've never experienced anything like that. I have to tell this story on the podcast. And I believe that we teased it for an episode. And then, of course, we didn't talk about it. So I want to know, as I'm sure everyone does, it's going to be a little personal and TMI as well. So warning, what happened?
So this is one of the funniest, kind of embarrassing moments that it was more funny than embarrassing because I don't get embarrassed all that often. But I went to the pharmacy to find Monastas.
Monistat.
Monastat. Maybe that was the first issue I had that I didn't even know the right name of the medicine.
Monistas.
Yeah.
Okay, Monistas. Yeah.
So I go to the pharmacist. Get in. I picked up a couple of the things, just so it seemed that was like in the brush. It's like, hey, can I have some Monastas? And she's like, what? Like, Monastas. And it's like, what is it for? Male, middle-aged guy. And I was like, irritated vagina. And I was like, and he's like, what? Like, okay.
How do you say, ¿cómo se dice irritated vagina in Spanish?
Para la vagina irritada. And she's like,
I'm sorry, what is it?
It's a handful. Like, it's a lot of words.
Say it again, slow.
Vagina irritada. It's like,
Irritada.
yeah, yeah, that when you get into that, this guy got like, okay. But there was a pause there that is like, can you repeat that? It's like, okay, now you're just fucking with me. Like,
yeah.
So here, my girl has some issues. I need this. And I didn't know if he was paying attention because he was in the computer. I think he didn't want to make eye contact also.
He's a pharmacist.
But you know.
Get over it, guys. You're a middle-aged men at this point. Come on.
Yeah, I think he gave me my Diet Coke for free. Like, I'm sure you're dealing with more than I am right now. So he looked at it like, so what's the name of the medicine? Are we going to go with this again? It's Monastas. And I'm pretty sure he said, oh, Monastat. I was like, oh my God, tomato. Like, come on. He's like, well, let me look. So he Googled. But the whole getting into what it was like a 2 minute of awkwardness. Like, it was like, cremita for the vagina. Like, how do you, like...
So next time I have an issue, I go in and I would say something like, hola, tengo una vagina irritada.
Yeah. So it was hilarious.
Typical male behavior, isn't it? That he goes, oh my gosh, we were really struggling. Like, and he's like, imagine what you're going through. Imagine what you're going through. Imagine what I was going through. I had a 10-day issue after taking the strongest Z-Pack I've ever had in my life, which totally dawned on me why they prescribe, fluconazole to women when you're on antibiotics in the United States. It's like an obvious thing, right? Because it just kills all of our bacteria. And then, oh my gosh, I got like the worst issues down there for so long. It was awful. And guys just can't understand it, because...
Well, he gave me the medicine and a hug. That's how it ended, Like, I'm pretty sure you're like, things are not happy right now. So here's...
I wasn't in a bad mood about it. I was like almost in tears. I was so uncomfortable. That was kind of the worst one I've ever had. Granted, I should have known better when the Z-Pack was like 3 horse pills. It was the strongest. And the Z-Pack made me feel kind of weird.
It was like 1,000 milligram per pill.
We all looked at it. We were like, that's a strong Z-Pack. But I was really sick and I'm fine. I'm like, let's pop these antibiotics down. But yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah, there's experiences. I mean, especially, imagine that's your experience in a pharmacy and you speak the language. My experience and my mom the other day, I just let her fend for herself because she was like, give me that stomach medicine. I'm like, you go in and get it. I'll drive you there. Or I'll pay for it, but you go in and get it, because I want her to, you have to start kind of figuring it out, Amably is what it's called. It's like your version of Prevacid or Prilosec or something, But it's interesting. And I think those are the moments, it was probably the hardest moment I've had is when I was sick. And you're not able to find exactly what you would normally go to the store and find.
But the lesson was to Google it before you go there.
Sure. I do that. I have to do that, though. Not only do I do that, y'all should see my last translation. I wish Fran would always ask me my last Google translation in my phone. Oh, it's on the phone filming us right now. But it was, because I want to practice my Spanish, So, but there's some things that I don't know enough words yet. So learning Necesito and Tango and some of this has really been helpful, But when I go to the dog groomer, I'm just like,
how do you say anal glands?
Hi, I need to make an appointment to get my pug's nails trimmed and also to express her anal glands. Like, so I left the anal glands part off and I went in and I was like, that was a complicated translation.
So she hasn't gotten her anal glands.
I just said, pug nails appointment. And she was like, yes, come back at 1 o'clock, like very good English. I'm like, but you never know, you got to have it ready to go. Because when you roll in somewhere, I've encountered a lot of people that don't want to speak English, which is fine. It's understandable. I'm in Mexico. I need to deal with it. My video is still going a bit viral in a bad way.
The one that you're critiquing Mexico? Bad Mexico. So just be very careful when you take visit to some place. You don't want to end up like that urban legend about these people in Thailand that took their dog to a restaurant. It's like, can you feed the dog like making hand signatures, signs?
What urban legend is this?
They cooked the dog and brought it into the table.
The Thai urban legend that everyone's very familiar with?
Yes. That this American couple came with their dog.
Do you not think that's insulting to all the Taiwanese listening to the
It was
show
Asia,
right now?
somewhere.
Yeah. So now, as a Mexican, you're insulting the Asians.
We're minorities. We can just like play and dabble with each other, And I'm not insulting them. We all eat. You guys in Asia eat weird stuff, and we love your weird stuff, and we eat weird stuff.
I remember some of the other negative
I'm pretty sure you've eaten dog.
Yeah, exactly. That first time we went to Mexico, or we were in San Miguel, and I had a photo of Wheezy, and she was really getting on my nerves, and I was like, I had her in a funny collar I had bought at the store, and I was like, I'm about to sell Wheezy for street meat. Oh, I got some bad. We're Mexican. We don't eat dogs. That's the funny thing, though, is like Mexicans in general have a really great sense of humor. And I find that people are very supportive. But I've been getting a lot of the whole like, get out of my country, gringa. And now it's just one of those things that I said to Fran, I knew this was going to happen. And he didn't really stand up for me very much. And so I sent
my sister.
I said, no, you didn't. And now you're jumping to the part of the story I was just about to tell. You didn't send your sister. I sent your sister a screenshot because I knew she'd come to the rescue. And she was like, hold my cerveza. And she went and she just did something in Spanish to a bunch of people. So good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. What a nice sister-in-law.
Well, I was in the negative side. Like, why are you critiquing Mexico?
I finally got a nice explanation, though, because for me, I've had a really hard time wrapping my head around. I knew I would get negative feedback if I ever had experience videos, right? I like to be honest. And I don't think talking about how difficult it is to get a package here is just endlessly complaining about Mexico. I think it's important to share. And I know most people are supportive about it. But I've always asked Fran, I just don't understand. There's millions, I don't know how many millions of Mexicans living in the States. And Fran complained about things about living in the United States, right? I mean, but finally you and then another man who commented nicely, because I don't understand why, why that kind of sentiment is being shared so much, especially considering I'm not just glamorizing Mexico. If anything, I'm supporting their cause. I'm listing off a negative reason to not live here. So if you don't want people here, I'm kind of supporting that, right? But finally, the clarity I got, thanks to you and someone else who echoed what you said, was that so many Mexicans, because you can't just say, oh, well, are Mexicans not allowed to live anywhere else either? Because there is kind of that point of like, so we're all supposed to stay in our own countries all the time. But Francisco said to me, he goes, there's a lot of Mexicans that live in the United States. And I never thought about this as a gringa, as an American, right? I always thought people wanted to move to the United States because it's better, it's better than Mexico. And that's not really the case at all, especially after living here. And you said to me, Jenna, it's not that people want to live in the United States. And that was kind of that moment for me that was like, it's like they have to, they have to make this trek.
So that's what they get so protected.
Right. Like they would much rather be living in Mexico. They're not living. And I think that's a really nice perspective for those of us that are Americans, that was truly a light bulb moment for me, because I always just thought, well, we allow, other people from all parts of the world to, we don't allow everyone, obviously. And I know there's a lot of opinions based around that, but I'm just saying in general, with an open border, we are allowing people to live. And I would just think, okay, well, we're allowing it. So why can't, I be received better here? And yeah, that's the problem, right? Is that.
And I think the issue is not the people that the U.S. allows, because the people that the U.S. allows to live there are people that are choose to live there and they're happy. And I'm pretty sure you have none of them in your comments. The people that are not allowed in the U.S. and they still live in the U.S. are the ones that are resentful, because they would love to live in a paradise like we live in, but the only opportunity of work that they can find is in the U.S. for a fraction of an hourly wage that an American will get. So they do the same job for a fraction of the job, living in a house with 16 other people, instead of living in the paradise home that they might have in Mexico, even if it's a small town or big town, wherever, leaving their families behind. So
when people are and I totally understand that. And that was really, I mean that. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because it was really that aha moment for me of how ignorant to think that everyone wants to live in the States, especially now as someone that has not wanted to live in the States as much recently. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Like people are living there. It's not because they want to, y'all. Sometimes it's because they have to, because people here, for instance, we found out someone here, like the amount of money people get paid to do work, in Mexico is shocking. How does someone even, live off of that? Well, yes, they can live off of it a little more depending on where they live and the price of things, right? But with all of this kind of gentrification, and that's the argument here, is like they're still making pesos, but things are kind of priced, even though they're priced in pesos, it's priced at a more US dollar, which is quite a bit more. And it makes it almost unlivable. And so I understand the resentment and part of that. I guess for me, I get a little confused with all the people that do live in the United States and they're making US dollars. When people argue with me, well, you're making US dollars spending it here and it's hurting our economy. But isn't that what people that live in Mexico and send all their money home to families? No, I don't think that is
the argument. The argument
they're sending US dollars.
The argument is that because these American communities move into these towns in Mexico, they price out the locals. Like Tulum, for example, people that were local in Tulum, they cannot live in Tulum anymore. It's too expensive.
But that town, just the other side of that argument, is there are so many places in Mexico that literally exist and survive off tourism.
Correct.
Cabo San Lucas.
Correct. They survive, but it's a trade-off, because it is a trade-off.
What's the answer to that, though? Like, how do you draw the line between this part of our country survives off tourism, not just American dollars, but everyone that comes?
So what the country is doing is injecting money on affordable housing, injecting money to support and protect the people that live off tourism, because yes, tourism is great.
That's the government's responsibility.
It's the government's and the public and the private industry, the private sector, because we have to take care of the people that are running our businesses. So that is part of it. The other part that is completely different is that, yes, these people are sending their money to their families to support their families. The argument that the people are saying is that you come here even more comfortable because your dollar stretches farther out, Like you come here to have even a better quality of life, when the opposite these people that go to the US have everything but quality of life.
Right.
So they live first, like they live chased because they're constantly chased. They don't have job stability because one day migration comes and take them all out.
Yeah.
So these people that are living in the US in that lifestyle are angry and sad and resentful of the opposite. And
But it's still worth it?
it is not worth it or not. It's not about if it's worth it or not worth it. It's about that is the only choice they have. It doesn't worth it if you ask me to jump into a train from across the country that you can die in the first half of the trip.
So how can I be, and I want this to be open to people. You know, I get asked by a lot of women, I'm a single mom in the States, can I move to Mexico, you know? And I'm like, well, of course you can. But and just so y'all know, I have been received very well, at least to my face, in every scenario here, you know, in person, and people are nice. And I'm sure people have their grievances and issues, but this is more just a social media stranger thing. Obviously, you know, that's going to happen. So I don't want anyone to feel discouraged from it. But how can I, especially with a platform, be a better, you know, which we can't even say the word expat anymore. How can I be a better immigrant, you know, from America to Mexico, in the sense of, I mean, I know you pay taxes here and, you know, supporting economy, things like that. But what can I do to maybe make people less resentful?
So it's just it's what we are doing is support the local markets, like support the local industries and kindness, like just understand that we are all equal. We're all humans. We're like, doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. We're the same people. We have the same oxygen to breathe. So I think that's a huge part. And be empathic. Like, it's people that are angry are offensive, and be empathic of that anger, because that anger doesn't come. It's not just there because it's there because they have to go through a very hard life. I'm not saying that we haven't had a hard life in a way. We all have our battles, but their battles have been physically very taxing. And just have that in mind. Have that we are very privileged to be able to live in a country they will love to live in a way of living that they will really love. So it's just support these families, support these local economies that are very important for society, and involve, like, be part of the community, not be part of just a expat community, be part of, merge into the culture. I think that's very important. As we are doing it, I believe so.
Thank you. No, I feel like I'm learning a lot, and there's something really thrilling about learning about a new culture. Those of you that know me for a long time, you know, they always say I'd be, invited to the quinceanera.
Yeah.
Because I love, before
Mexican.
I was just looking for a Mexican man. Like, he just appeared, you know?
Low hanging.
But I've always loved Mexican culture. I think there's so much just that I absolutely love about it, you know? So if anything, I hope, you know, people understand that my complaints are nothing more than just sharing kind of the good and the bad.
No, and it's a banter. It's just like a normal banter, and something that I invite my fellow Mexicans and fellow Chicanos that live in the US is understand that we're doing our best. Like, we are all trying to coexist.
So
and
what are you called?
Mexican. American.
No, I see a lot of, like, what's Chilango?
Oh, Chilango is the guy from Mexico City. So well, Chilango, it's the people are very confused, but they call Chilangos the people from Mexico City. So I am Chilango.
What's a white Mexican?
White-sican.
White-sican. What's a white-sican?
A white Mexican.
So what is that? Are you a white Mexican?
Well, I'm white.
Well, what do you mean?
In my color of skin, I'm not tan. Like I'm not like.
So there's white-sican and black.
So they call
or
white-sicans the like.
We're gonna get in trouble.
Yes. So we call white-sicans like the spoiled Mexican, you know, like what they call the spoiled Mexican that feels American.
Okay, and Chilango is just Mexico. It's not insulting.
Chilango is everybody.
City.
Like it's everything could be or not insulting. You know, you people are sensitive these days.
And what am I?
You're an expat.
No, that's word's not appropriate anymore. Apparently.
Who says that?
The internet.
Oh wow.
I'm a gringa.
Yeah, you're a gringa.
Gringa is not a great thing to be, right?
Well, so gringo is how we call Americans. The word gringo came from
Did y'all know you were about
the American battle
today?
when America came to invade Mexico. America used to use green uniforms.
Gringo. That's
So it's
right.
like green, go.
Mm.
So that's what they say that the word gringo came from.
Mm-hmm.
But it got adapted to everybody that it's American is gringo, which I think it's a funny, cool word.
Gringa here. Yeah. So we're going to do some food tours next week in Mexico City. We're going to go to the Michelin-starred taco restaurant for y'all. We should just set up like this one day.
We need to have a live
podcast somewhere. Yeah, that's what we should do.
In Mexico City.
We'll jump on, finish live. Yeah, we'll do that. If y'all have any ideas, let us know when you're listening to this because we'll be in Mexico City when this is airing. And then, yeah, if there's anything you want to see in Mexico City, I love Mexico City. We're really trying to do some more. I want to do some shopping. I want to go explore some of their neighborhoods I haven't seen. So if there's anything y'all are interested in seeing, I think people like the food content, even though I'm not as much of a foodie. Like I could eat, if you took me to Taco Bell disguised as something else in Mexico City, I'd be like, this is amazing. I don't know. I literally don't know the difference sometimes with food, which is so shameful. I actually, if I looked up a restaurant and the reviews were like, food is horrible, aesthetic and scene amazing, music is so good, I'd be like, I want to go to that place, you know? There are so many cool spots, though, that I want to see. So I've been sending Fran TikToks and places, so let's see how many he actually remembers and takes us to. But yeah, we'll do a little food tour. We'll try some fun stuff. But you're right. We'll just jump on Fiddish and do Fiddish Goes to Mexico City kind of live. That should be fun.
And I'm not going to let August go without starting to make content. A lot of people have told me about it.
You're the one that keeps bringing it up. But just so you know, we've been here for 4 months and he hasn't made content yet.
No, like I've been getting acquainted, you know? I've been trying to get my roots in.
I have not brought it up again to you since I realized you probably weren't going to do it. I have not brought it up again.
I'm bringing it up because it's going to be exciting.
I'm just going to revert back to that expression that they say, don't tell people your next move. Just do it. Just do it.
Well, I want also their opinion. Like, what would they want to see? If there's something in particular they know, like if you're looking to move to Mexico, I would love to answer any of your questions. Or if you have any questions about what we were just talking about, I would love to please DM me.
I hope you enjoyed that brief, racially charged history lesson. But I think we become better people when we learn about other cultures and when we kind of face difficult moments.
Knowledge is power.
Just become better. You know, I want to be a better American. I want to be a better human. I'm really interested in learning all of that. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. And next time we'll see you for a little bit here in Mexico City and take you on our travels. Bye.